Good evening. I call to order meeting number 1802 of the Planning and Zoning Commission at 6:32 PM. We have a quorum. We have 4 regular members present. Commissioner Gowdy is unable to attend tonight. Mike, are there any added agenda items?
I don't have anything, nope.
There were 4 legal notices. I'll read them all together. East Windsor Planning and Zoning Commission will hold a regular meeting on Tuesday, May 11th, 2021 at 6:30 PM via the remote video conferencing platform Zoom. The following public hearings will be held. PZ-2021-15 Wells Road subdivision application, 5-lot re-subdivision. Map 125, block 24, lot 025. It's in the A1 zone. PZ-2021-16 Wells Road, a special use permit application to allow the creation of a rear lot. Map 125, block 24, lot 025, also in the A1 zone. PZ-2021-17 8 Church Street re-subdivision application for a 1-lot re-subdivision. Map 97, block 30, lot 092, zone R2. In the last one, PZ-2021-18 for 76 and 84 North Road and 7 Winkler Road. Special use permit application for construction of an automatic car wash accessory to an existing automotive filling station. Map 113, block 24, lots 02, 02-1 and -03. That's in his B3 zone. A full copy of the application is available on the town clerk's webpage and on the Planning and Zoning Commission's webpage on the town's website. All interested persons may appear on the online meeting and public hearing to be held on these topics. These are all dated April 27, 2021. These appeared in the Journal Enquirer on May 29th, as well as May 6, 2021. This is the public participation portion of our meeting. Are there any comments from the audience for something that's on tonight's agenda?
Let me just make sure this Zoom meeting is off.
Any comments from the audience? Okay, take that as no. Next up, approval minutes. We'll do these independently, so we won't cross-contaminate one with the other. We'll first consider April 13th, 2021 regular meeting. Any members of the commission have any comments, questions, edits?
Yes, I think we need to make an edit.
Okay, go right ahead.
On page 24, we had an application for a re-subdivision on Rockville Road. And the applicant told us that the memo from staff had mixed up who the applicant and who the owner were. And after he told us, I did not read the, when I made the motion to approve, I corrected the owner and applicant. And I think when the minutes were prepared, it was a cut and paste. So what I read and what appears in the minutes are, need to be fixed. So in line 109, the owner is Tom Crockett et al. And the applicant was James Daniel. And that's how I stated it on the record. So I would like to have that corrected.
And did you notice anything else?
No, I did not.
Any other members of the commission? Anything worthy of discussion, corrections, or edits?
Nope.
Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion for approval with the suggested edits that Commissioner Gobin had.
I'll move to approve the minutes of regular meeting 1800 which was April 13th, 2021. With the correction in line 109 that indicates the owner is Tom Crockett et al. And the applicant is James Daniel.
There's a motion for approval as amended. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, I call for a vote. All those in favor say aye or raise their hand.
Aye.
Aye.
4 hands, it passes unanimously. All right, we can consider the April 27th, 2021 regular meeting minutes now. Any members of the commission find anything worthy of discussion?
I did not.
Nope.
Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion for approval as written.
I will move to approve the meeting minutes from regular meeting number 1801, which was held April 27, 2021.
There's a motion on the table for approval. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, I call for a vote. All those in favor say aye or raise their hand.
Aye.
Aye.
4 hands, it is approved. Thank you. We'll move on. Item 7, receipt of applications. There was one PZ-2021-19 text amendment application at the East Windsor zoning regulations, section 802.4, multifamily development district known as the MFDD. And this is a proposed public hearing on June 8th, 2021. So stay tuned on that one. Next up under new public hearings. Before I make an announcement, who's representing the applicant on the Wells Road? Jay, is that you or is that somebody else?
I will be representing Joe.
Okay, the reason why I ask is, are we going to be considering these together or independently? If they're going to be together, I'll read them together and make the announcement.
I was going to kind of describe them together as a single, but I know in terms of voting, I think you're required to vote for the resub and the special permits separately, but they really all kind of go hand in hand. So I think I'll talk about them as one, if that's okay with you.
Not a problem. So I'll announce it that way. And if we get to the point where we need to deliberate on a vote, we'll take separate actions. So item A, PZ-2021-15 Wells Road re-subdivision application for a 5-lot re-subdivision. And also we're going to be talking at the same time for PZ-2021-16 Wells Road, a special use permit application to allow the creation of a rear lot. Okay, Jay, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. For the record, Jay Ursrey, J.R. Russo and Associates here representing the applicant, Anthony Della Ripa and TMC LLC. This is a property that's located, I guess, on the westerly side of Wells Road, just a little bit south of the intersection with Rollicut and North Road. It's a fully wooded parcel, significant wetlands on the parcel. It's about 47 acres in total in terms of its acreage. And it essentially runs from the northern property line of the Skylark Airport up to what would now be the back of the south line of the Bass property, which fronts on North Road. This was formerly part of the Bass Farm some years back, and it was sold, I think, back in the late 80s to the Della Ripas by Walter Bass. So if you note, you take a look at the app, it says it's a 5-lot re-subdivision. And after further review and looking at your regulations in terms of developable area and not minimum lot area, developable area required for this particular zone, the A1 zone, is 43,560 or 1 acre. So it's scaled back to a 4-lot subdivision at this point, a re-subdivision. There's no longer 5. Lots 1 and 2 were combined into a single lot to be sure that we met that requirement of the 43,560 buildable area. We were before the Wetlands Commission last week with our application, and it was approved. So here we are before you this evening and looking again for an approval for the 4 lots consisting of 3 frontage lots and 1 rear lot for this subdivision. So at this point, let me see if I can share the screen here with you, and we'll put a plan up that we can take a look at. I think Jason's going to have to allow me to share the screen.
Mike D'Amato, do you have those privileges?
I don't. Let me text Jay.
Yeah, I'm getting a message that says disabled participant, which I am at times, but I'm not sure that that's what they're talking about here.
All right, I just sent him a note. 1 sec.
He's probably doing dad duty.
All right, I have it. So can you do it, Jay? Can you share it now?
Yep, we've got it now. Okay, let's see here. Can everybody see this?
I can.
You can,
Yep,
okay,
yep, good to see it.
that's a good sign. Let me shrink it a little bit so we can see. All right. So Wells Road would be to the right here where my cursor is. This is our frontage. And as I said before, to the north is Walter Bass, which is the rear of the parcels that are on North Road, which consist of the plaza, his dad's former home. I think his brother's got a home there. There's 2 or 3 other buildings, the school bus yard. All of those houses are out to the north of this, that front on North Road, which were part of this particular parcel. Just to the south is Skylark Airport, which is down here. And this portion of it is all wooded. The runway is a little further to the south. And across the street, or to the east of this, there are a couple of houses on Wells Road. And then as you go a little further south, there's a fairly large agricultural field, which has been in tobacco most years. And then there's some more houses as you go further south and across the street from the airport. So as I said, it's about 47 acres in total. We're proposing 4 total lots. Lot 1 is located here. It's just over 6 acres in size. And I'm just moving it around here so we can all see it and make it a little bigger. 6.3 acres total, the buildable area 44,455, which is just over your 43,560. And we're showing a new home located up here in the front, some clearing limits, a wetland line that kind of wraps around the back and then goes off the property to the north. And we do have sanitary sewer now here in Wells Road, which was part of the North Road sewer project that went in, I think it was 3 or 4 years ago. It comes up Wells Road almost to the airport. It could actually serve the airport. It does get to within their frontage and then it stops. So this would go back to North Road and then it would go westerly down to the pump station behind WB Mason. So we are tied into the sanitary sewer with this particular, with all of these lots. And we're showing again a proposed home here, fronting on the 50-foot building line. They'll be served by individual wells. We're showing a well to the rear and a shed off to the right rear, to the rear of the house itself. The property's relatively level. We've got it elevated just a little bit above the road, so the driveway pitch pitches back a little bit. And it's totally wooded. The area to the back here is all woods. Everything up in the front is wooded. And if you read Mike's memo, that was one of the things he talked about with street trees, which I sent out a memo to him yesterday, kind of addressing that. But we are showing 2 street trees on this particular lot because we're clearing the front area for this home. And Mike mentioned street trees on the rest of it. Well, the lot is pretty much fully wooded all the way up to the edge of the road. So we didn't show any more street trees. My suggestion is that when these lots are sold and developed, you will probably see individual plot plans on each one that may differ slightly from the concepts that we're showing here on the subdivision or re-subdivision plan. And probably a look at that time by staff to see whether street trees are actually necessary on the remaining lots. Because if you go back and we look at all of this, we can see that the entire parcel really is, it's wooded and pretty much wooded almost up to the edge of the pavement. So right now, with what we're proposing to put street trees on the remaining lots, we'd probably be cutting trees in order to put street trees in. So it would be a little bit difficult to do, but I think depending on how these other lots are developed, some review at time with staff during the plot plans to determine whether the street trees are necessary might be the right thing to do, and maybe a condition of approval of something to that effect. Lot 2, again, when we go a little bit bigger, is 5.5 acres in size. Again, one of Mike's comments was that we add the buildable area to each lot, which I've done on a revised plan, which is not on this particular presentation plan that I have, but all the other lots have substantial buildable area. I think they're all over 2 acres in size in terms of the buildable area. And I do have a revised plan that would show that. And that was one of the things that Mike requested in his memo. And we have added that information, but the buildable area on all the remaining lots is fairly extensive. It's acres, it's not square feet. So lot 2 would be, again, a frontage lot coming in off of wells, again, served with sanitary sewer, grinder pump, force main out to the street into the manhole, a well located to the rear, and a driveway coming in into this fairly large area here that's an upland and not a wetland. Lot 3, a little bit further to the south, again, just under 4 acres in size, again, a fairly substantial upland area or buildable area, about 2 acres in size, again, served by sanitary sewer, grinder pump, force main out to the road, and again, tying into the existing sewer. The rear lot and the special permit lot is lot 3, which is basically the remaining land, and it's 32.5 acres. It's a very large lot. And in this particular lot, it's a little different than some of the others, is the front area is fairly flat or level, I guess we might say. In the back, we actually have a little bit of topography. There's a little hill or a knob, if you will, and this house sits up a little higher. And we're able to get full basements with footing drains and so forth on this particular lot. And again, a grinder pump and a force main back out to the street. And we have the required 30 feet of frontage or strip going in. And again, if you looked at Mike's memo, that's again, one of the things that he talked about here in terms of your requirements for rear lots. And it requires that the driveway be screened. And it also requires the backs, I guess, if you will, or the building line, which is 50 feet, that there be screening along this area. And again, my comment is that it's all fairly wooded, and we're showing existing vegetation remaining here between the driveways. There's substantial wooded vegetation back here. And I think, again, my thought would be here is that when this lot comes in with a plot plan, when it's sold and it's going to be developed, that staff take a look at it and see, once we get the driveway in and where exactly they're going to put the house and how extensive are they showing any clearing, do we need additional screening, or is the existing wooded area that's there substantial enough that it provides the screening that's necessary in your regulation? based on the way I've got it put together here conceptually for you to take a look at, there is substantial wooded area here, probably in excess of 100 feet deep on this lot, that would be screening the back portion of the driveway in the house. And I don't know that it's necessary to add any more. Along the driveway itself and within the 30-foot strip, we've got, again, existing vegetation that's going to remain on either side. In that particular area, it's probably a little more critical with the driveways. You know, once it's cleared for the driveway and the utilities that come in, you know, how much vegetation is remaining? How many big trees are there? How much screening are they providing? Do we need some more arborvitaes? And I think it's something that really needs to be looked at the time of construction by staff and maybe us or a developer to determine whether some more screening is necessary to be sure that we are conforming to the regulation in terms of the rear lot and the screening that's provided. So that's a basic overview of the 4 lots. Mike did have some other comments, and again, I sent him a memo. I don't know if you have a copy of it or not, but I believe I've addressed all his comments. There was one, however, that talked about flood zone. And in the FEMA mapping that we look at, the flood areas that are talked about are numerous. And the one that we're really most concerned about is the special flood hazard area, or the 100-year flood. And there isn't any of that on this piece of property. And your regulations speak to the special flood hazard areas and the 100-year flood in your regulations. And you have specific regulations that talk about development in those areas. And there's a lot of special conditions and so forth that have to be adhered to. On this particular parcel, way off here to the west, within the wetland, there is a small area of what's defined on the flood hazard map as other flood areas. So it's not a special flood hazard area, and it's not a 100-year flood area. It's not an area that you wouldn't be able to build on, assuming you get here on this particular parcel. I don't think you can. And it's not something that requires flood insurance through FEMA like the 100-year floods do. But it's something that FEMA added to their flood mapping when they revised them back in, I think in East Windsor, it might have been 2008. And I don't know if any of you have run into this, but it's created quite an issue with loans and so forth with banks and brokers, where they're looking at these new flood maps, and they added these areas when they revised their maps that weren't there maybe when a mortgage was initialized prior to that date. And maybe somebody's doing a refinance and they say, oh, you're in a flood zone, you now need flood insurance. And the reality is, well, they're really not in a flood zone, and that doesn't require flood insurance. But sometimes, you know, the loans, the people that are issuing these loans aren't really that refined in knowing what the flood mapping really means. And they see a shaded area and say, well, you need flood insurance. And that's typically when they might come to somebody like us or somebody else that's got a little more experience in reading the flood maps. But we did add that area to the map, so it is off to the west. Doesn't affect anything that we're doing here. It's a long ways from any of these houses. But again, it's not a special flood hazard area as defined in the FEMA mapping itself. There are some waivers that we asked for, and they're all the ones that I think that you're used to hearing, and Mike does talk about those in his memo. And essentially, I think we're looking again at sidewalks, or the fee in lieu of the sidewalks here on Wells Road. The street lights, obviously, it's not new road construction, it's an existing street. So we're looking for a waiver of that. And we also were looking for the street trees as a waiver. However, maybe some different verbiage in form of a condition of approval to take a look at the street trees when we get a little further into this in terms of construction. So that's a basic overview of the application. As I said, it's a fairly large parcel, 47 acres, 4 new homes, sanitary sewer, wells, wetland approval, and that's where we are at this point. So if any of you commissioners have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them for you.
I have a couple, but I'll wait till my colleagues have an opportunity to weigh in. So Jim Thurs, you have any comments, questions?
Yeah, Jay, is that rear lot, is that trail that runs back there? Is that the driveway?
It is. In fact, I took a look at some of the historical mapping and almost all of that area was in agriculture back in the 50s. And I can go back to 1934. There were some tobacco barns on the property, and it actually looks like, although it's very hard to see, it's not a good photo. It looks like there was a house and a barn back here then. So, and I think that was the driveway to serve it.
Yep.
This whole front area that's here that compromises what lot 1, most of lot 2, even though it's wetlands, it was all wide open. There wasn't a tree on it. It was all field. I don't know whether it was tobacco or corn, but there was a tobacco barn there, but there's no evidence of any of that anymore. But that road actually comes all the way through here, comes back out onto Walter's property here, and eventually finds its way right back out to North Road. I don't think anybody's used it in a long time, but it is passable. I mean, when we were in there working, you know, you could drive a truck through it. It's,
Yep.
it is a road, an old farm road that you could use, but you're right. That road actually comes in just about where this driveway is right here and follows in along the wetland. It goes all the way through to the back and onto Walter's piece.
We used to cut through that trail as kids.
Yeah,
Going
it's
to Basdale Plaza 40 years ago. It's still there.
Still there.
Yeah. I'm good with the street trees thing because it's totally wooded back there. It's, you know, it's like walking through woods behind your house. There's trees everywhere. I'm good with that. And I'm also good with the, we'll talk about sidewalks later, but I'm good with the waiver for the sidewalks and the street lights. So that's all I have.
Thank you. Mike Kozlowski?
Just one question, Jay. So the area that you have kind of in a light green, is that the proposed cleared area? Is a potential homeowner able to clear any more space if they want a bigger lawn area, or what is the rest of the property? Is there any uses they could have out of the rest of the property?
So the area that's shown in the light green is what we're showing as clearing limits now, which would be lawn area or landscape, you know, whatever they wanted to do with it. It could change, definitely, and we had a lot of discussion about that when we were before the Wetlands Commission, because they're looking for, you know, wetland buffers and so on and so forth. But we tried to create a fairly good size area, or what we would call usable, you know, yard area for somebody that wants to, again, I showed sheds on all of these, you know, have an outbuilding, you know, enough room to play ball with the kids or so on and so forth. But it could change. It could get bigger. I would expect that these house configurations would likely change a little bit when somebody comes in with a specific footprint for a house that they want to build. And the reality is that staff is going to see those. The ones that change, and I think probably they will all go back to the Wetland Commission again for an individual permit on each lot. So, but you're right. They could get larger. There is quite a bit of room here on all of these lots other than lot 1. Lot 1's a little tight in terms of the, you know, the buildable area. It's 44,000 square feet, just over an acre in size, but these others are multiple acres in size. So there's a lot of space here. And the rear lot especially has substantial space. I mean, somebody could probably have a barn and horses or some cows or chickens, or, you know, could certainly become a mini farm easily. There's a lot of room back there.
Okay, and then I guess, like I say, we'll probably talk about the waivers separately later. Thanks, Joe.
Ann?
I guess I have the same question Mike had. I guess I'm predisposed to feel like I don't want trees anywhere near my house because I'm always afraid of them falling. So if I bought a parcel like that, I'd want to get rid of as many trees as I could and have more field-like area around. Is there anything that prevents a future buyer from, I'll say, clear cutting the lot?
Good question. There is, because of the wetlands, these lots are within the wetland regulated area. East Windsor has an extensive, what we call upland review area. It extends 150 feet from any delineated wetland. So when you look at this parcel and you extend 150 feet, for example, on the rear lot, we come in 150 from this wetland line and 150 from this wetland line, they overlap each other. So any clearing, construction, anything that goes on requires a permit from the Wetland Commission. So they do have some say in terms of what can be done here. As I said, we showed a fairly good size area around these houses. I don't think that the Wetland Commission would be too concerned about clearing more as long as we kept probably a 20-foot, maybe 25-foot buffer from the actual wetland line. And certainly there's a lot of space on all of these lots 2, 3, and 4 to clear a lot more area than what I'm showing here. There's space to the side, behind, here to the side and behind. There's a lot of room here to do other things. You know, as I said, the rear lot could certainly become a farm. There's plenty of land there to, somebody wanted a barn and wanted to have some horses and so
I
forth.
guess where I'm kind of going with it is what if we waive the street trees and you got a buyer who doesn't like trees and they come to wetlands and wetlands says it's okay to take them down and just keep it a mowed field? Would we have an issue? Or would wetlands like make sure that some trees stayed along the property?
I think the Wetland Commission would like to see as many trees remain as possible, but if we're talking about street trees, you know, that may be a little bit different issue where we're right out by the road. I mean, that's a good question, Ian. I really don't know what would happen if, like in this situation, for example, on lot 1, where we're going to put 2 street trees in and somebody comes in and buys the house and 2 years later decides they don't like the trees and they cut them down.
That's what I did when I bought my house.
I don't know. I never really thought
Want
about
trees
that.
near my house. I
That's
just, yeah, so even if we were required street trees, somebody could cut them down, so I
I
guess.
guess so. I don't know. Maybe that, I don't know if Mike has any thought on that. I've never really thought that way, but I suppose it could happen. They could say, you know, I don't want trees. I don't want leaves. I
Right,
and-
I don't want the mess.
don't know.
Yeah, that's, there's really nothing that we can do about it. If they asked
Okay.
us, can I cut these trees down? We would tell them no. But yeah, we kind of lose a little bit of that control once the CO has been issued, but it kind of speaks to your comment earlier. If the commission is comfortable with using the existing vegetation, what I would prefer is that if there is this densely wooded area on these lots, that you call out 2 trees to remain or an area to be undisturbed or something on the plan so that it's very clear through the process that these areas are to be protected, so that I'm always for using existing vegetation in lieu of planting new trees. I think mature trees are important. We just want to call that out on the plan would be my preference.
That's fine with me. I also think once you get to the point where the property and the trees are 50-year-old spruce trees or whatever, it's like they're just nothing but a hazard. They're gonna fall on the power lines. So if we have somehow maintain 2 trees on the property and they
Yep,
can be
I
the
think
existing, that's fine.
I think that's a good point that Mike just made. We can call out some notation on the plan indicating that, you know, trees along the frontage need to remain to meet the street tree requirement within the regulation so that they realize that they
They can-
can't cut down everything.
Yep, so they can pick 2 and keep those.
Yep,
As opposed
So
to
good
having,
point.
Okay.
Certainly we can do that.
thank you.
I got a couple questions. In particular, lot 1 regarding the house position, and this is really, it's about the roadway configuration. Obviously, there's a vertical curve in the road there, but how about the horizontal? And at which site distance be limited at that driveway? Looking to the north.
Yeah. You know, Joe, I would have to measure it. I couldn't tell you exactly what it is. I know standing at the edge of the road there, you can see up to Roller Cut Road where it comes in. I would have to measure it for you to tell you what it is. I mean, it's hundreds of feet. Is it 400 or 500? I don't know. I'm not sure of that, but I would actually have to go out there and measure it to tell you what it is. In working out there, I didn't really see anything that would have told me sightline was an issue there, but I can't tell you that I honestly measured it.
I wonder when the individual plot plans come into the town for approval, whether or not that's an element that staff is looking for. Because these are just general concept plans, as you made mention, as you referred to earlier. So Mike
Yeah.
D'Amato, would they be looking for something like that?
As far as the locations dealing with the roadway,
Yeah, yeah, the driveway
So-
curb cut onto the local street. No,
it would,
can
it
you
would go,
say,
it would go to it would go to Len Norton for review as part of that process.
for an individual plot plan?
Correct.
Okay, I'm good with that. Okay, and Jay, forgive me if you already clarified this. How long is the rear lot, the driveway to the rear lot?
Okay, just give me a second here. I'm going to tell you. I'm going to say it's 800 feet, but let me measure it for you just to be sure, because I did look at that myself.
And it falls within the regulation.
Just to get up to the area where we start to widen out here when we get.
Yeah, something like that. I'm
Yeah,
just looking for a ball.
it's about 900 feet, Joe.
Okay, what about the width of the driveway?
Well, the driveway meets your regulation, 18 feet clear. It's a
Okay.
30-foot strip until we get beyond it, but the whole thing would have to be 18 feet passable, which is your typical 12-foot wide drive with 3 feet either side for an emergency vehicle and enough room for it to turn around at the end, whether it's an ambulance or a fire truck or what have you. And again, I think, and Mike can correct me if I'm wrong, that's something that when you get to the individual plot plan phase, in terms of the configuration of the driveway and how the house sits, that Len Norton would comment on that as well, as far as an emergency vehicle being able to negotiate it and get in and turn. But it's designed and right now to meet your 18-foot passable width for an emergency vehicle.
Okay. And my final question talks more about open space. I know Mike D'Amato had a little bit of discussion in a staff memo to the commission. And how is that applicable here in this particular re-subdivision application?
It does require an open space dedication, whether it's a fee in lieu of or actual land. And I did look at this in terms of, is there some land that could be dedicated open space? And unfortunately, it doesn't back up to or abut any town-owned space now. It abuts the airport, but that's privately owned. It abuts the rest of the Bass Farm, mostly on the north and even on the west. Part of it's abutted by Bass properties. So I don't know what we would do with it, I guess, is one of my thought being. I don't know how it could be configured to be of any value to the town as something for passive recreation or a future park. So I just kind of assumed that the fee in lieu of the open space was probably the right thing to do here.
Yeah, I was definitely leaning in that direction because it wasn't clear to me any abutting or adjoining open space parcels. Or any
It doesn't
land.
abut any open space or town-owned land. If it had, I think that's something we would have certainly considered and looked hard at, but
Okay,
there's just no way to do that.
okay. Mike D'Amato, do you have any comments or questions before we open this up to the public for their comment?
I don't have anything beyond what was in my memo. Jay did mention that he had sent over some revised plans, but they didn't get sent out to you. I haven't had a chance to go through them. So the, the plans that I reviewed, I looked at the plans that were submitted to the commission, which was the 5 lot. And then I reviewed the 4 lot, which was submitted to wetlands. So there may be some stuff that's in the memo that Jay's addressed, but I'm happy to answer any questions you guys may have with anything I've written down.
Okay. Well, with that, we'll open up this to the audience. So this is a public hearing. Are there any comments from the audience? And if you wish to speak, just please identify your name and address for the record, please. Searching the grid, any comments from the audience? I'm not seeing any. Okay. So Jay, I'm gonna turn it back over to you. So just looking at Mike's preliminary memo, apparently, as you heard him say, he hadn't had an opportunity to look at your revised, your comments address his comments. I'm leaning toward closing the public hearing tonight and actually considering the subdivision approval, moving that to a future meeting, give an opportunity for staff to kind of go through the proposed conditions for approval, and also give you an opportunity to perhaps maybe mark some of the areas on the plan that or how do we, a notation on the plans or trees to remain or something along those lines that we recently talked about.
I think, Joe, I'm comfortable with that. I mean, I'm pretty confident that I've addressed Mike's comments, and I guess, and Mike, I'm gonna ask you this question, or you and Joe, or you and the commission, that even if the hearing's closed, that you and I can converse a little bit back and forth with email and so forth, just to whatever we need to do to tweak some notes and so forth on the plan, so that we're both, you're comfortable and the commission's comfortable with what they're finally voting on. I think we can do that. Does that seem reasonable?
I would say that all of any modifications or information that would be submitted after today is more or less tweaking of the plans. We seem to be on the same page as far as the content. So provided the commission is comfortable and has a very clear understanding of what they feel about things like the waivers for sidewalks and open space, that will allow me to craft the motion. So if the hearing is closed, then we can't dialogue next meeting about how you guys feel with that. So as long as we have that taken care of, I think we're good on my end.
One of the things I'd like to acknowledge that I received an email, perhaps the fellow commissioners did also, from a James Gilsta. It's on my cell phone here, trying to read it. He's addressing to Planning and Zoning Commission about this proposed public hearing. And I'm not gonna read it, so it's 6 or 7 paragraphs. Essentially, he has no objection to the proposed re-subdivision, but what he is concerned about, he's an active pilot who uses a Skylark Airport. And he's making a suggestion that perhaps on the deeds on the property, you put a notation of an active airport in the vicinity. I remember we have done this, something very, very similar for active adult, or not active housing, some age restricted housing at the end of Newbury Road, where that's also in the backyard of the Skylark Airport, where we had a note added to the deeds. It's like, hey, beware, there's an airport nearby and they have a legal right to fly the airplanes here. So Jay, is that something that you think?
Yeah, I think I could go back and look at Newberry Village to see what we put on it. I do recall that. And I think we may have done the same thing on the 2 residential lots or on across the street and the ones on Winkler Road. And quite frankly, those are probably more susceptible to some airport nuisance, I guess, if you will, than these are. But these are to the north. It's, they wouldn't be flying over these lots, but certainly if they're, practicing, takeoffs and landings, they're going to hear that noise. I mean, when we were working here, you could hear planes taking off very clearly. So I think a note like that is probably the proper thing to do here.
this, James did indicate that it's not common that they may change their flight pattern, but it all depends on their prevailing winds, and they may lower altitude for, I think, just the boots and suspenders approach. It probably, I would support adding some appropriate language on the Mylars for this subdivision. So fellow commission members, is there anything else for the good of the order on this one? Do we need to debate anything else regarding any of the waivers? Maybe I'll take a pause here. I think some of the commissioners, we kind of punted, if you will, regarding the debate on sidewalks. So maybe we'll have that discussion now. So right now, there is a proposal to waive the requirements of fee in lieu of. How do the commission members feel about that versus installing sidewalks along the frontage?
Agreed, fee in lieu of, I live right down the road. There's no sidewalks on this road anywhere. So I agree with the fee.
And I also support fee in lieu of.
So do I.
Okay, that makes 4 of us here. We all in agreement regarding the proposed waiver for streetlights?
Yes.
You okay with that?
Yeah.
It looks like, go ahead,
The
Ann.
only question I have on streetlights, are there streetlights in that vicinity or are there none?
They're scattered.
And you don't feel there's a need for more? It's not a road I've ever driven at night. So, and to me, with all that forested land, I'm not sure the streetlights.
I've been driving it for 40 years. It's good.
It's not a place I've been at night, so I can't. Then I'm fine with waiving the streetlights.
Okay, and it seems like we have a proposal for the open space, so it looks like the applicant, and I'm in agreement. The fee in lieu of would be the most appropriate course of action for that. And finally, the discussion about street trees. And it seems like we have reached tentative agreement that Jay's willing to add some appropriate notations to the plan of those areas that we need to preserve for or avoid clear cutting to meet the intent of our regulations. Is everyone okay with that proposed
Agreed.
remedy? Okay,
Agreed.
okay. One last call. This is a public hearing for the re-subdivision as well as the rear lot. Is there any comments from the audience? Okay. So Jay, are you good if we close the public hearing tonight? Is there if you wish, we can still keep it open and just continue business next meeting. It's up to you.
Comfortable in closing the hearing. I think, based on the conversations we've had tonight and what the memos I've seen from Mike, I'm comfortable with closing the hearing tonight.
Okay. And Mike, Mike D'Amato, just to reiterate, you're comfortable with these proposed course of action here? Okay.
Yep.
All right. So from fellow commissioners, can someone offer a motion to close the public hearing for the two applications? I probably do it separately, just to make sure that we do it right. So all we're doing is closing the public hearing on application number 15 and application number 16.
I'll move to close the public hearing on the re-subdivision application for what was noticed as a 5-lot re-subdivision on Wells Road, map 125, block 24, lot 25, zoned A1, applicant Anthony A. Della Ripa.
There's a motion to close the public hearing. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Here are none. I call for a vote. All those in favor say aye or raise their hand.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. See 4 hands. The public hearing is closed. Ann, you have the honors of doing the next one.
Sure. I will make an application to close the public hearing on PZ 2021-16, It's a special use permit application for Wells Road to allow creation of a rear lot. It's map 125, block 24, lot 25. It's an A1 zone. The applicant is Anthony A. Della Ripa.
There's a motion on the table to close the public hearing. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mike. Any discussion? There are none. I call for vote. All those in favor say aye or raise their hand.
Aye.
Aye, I see 4 hands, so the public hearing is closed. Okay, thank you, Jay. See you again in 2 weeks.
Yes.
Next up on the new public hearings, PZ 2021-17, 8 Church Street, a re-subdivision application for a 1-lot re-subdivision. The owner applicant is May A. Ridley Trust. Did I pronounce that correctly? So Jay, is this, you're still here, so this, are you?
Yeah, I'll take this one as well.
Okay.
Again, for the record, J. Ursary J.R. Russo here representing the May Grigley Trust. Dave Grigley is also here, as well as Betsy Laborious, another family member, I believe, and neighbor. So this is a Church Street property. It is a re-subdivision. And again, let me go to share screen here and see if we can get a plan up. There we go. Can everybody see that?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so this is 7 Church Street, as the application says. It's a re-subdivision. It's a parcel of land that borders the intermediate school on the north side, on the east side, and partially off to the west side. If we take a look at it, and let me get my cursor on here, you can see it. The Laboriouses live on this particular lot. This is part of the subject parcel, which is a parcel that's going to be conveyed to and combined with the Laborious parcel. The existing house at 7 Church Street is located here. There's a garage back here and another shed or outbuilding located here to the left rear. And the area here, which is the new lot, the new proposed house, essentially now is a mowed field. And as I said, just to the right, to the east here is the frontage. There's a frontage strip that's part of the intermediate school property that comes back out to Church Street. So here we have city water, city sewer available for a new lot in this location. Let me blow up the data block for you a little bit here so you can see it. We're in the R2 zone, which requires a minimum of 25,000 square feet. So we've got enough square footage to create a new lot. We've got 150 feet of frontage. We've got 26,000 square feet that we're proposing for the lot. And we can fit the house in and meet all the yard requirements and setback requirements and impervious coverage requirements. We can tie it into the sewer and into the water. And then when we do that, the existing house still has enough remaining land to meet the frontage. We've got 154 feet of frontage left for 8 Church. It's got 27,600 square feet of lot area left. And it meets all the required setbacks because it's essentially existing and we're not changing any of those. The new lot line that we're creating keeps the setback requirements within the required minimums for your zone and doesn't create any nonconformities. The existing garage and shed don't meet the rear yard requirement, but that has nothing to do with this proposed re-subdivision. They don't meet it now. The existing house doesn't meet the front yard requirement, but again, it's an existing condition and really has nothing to do with the current 40-foot building line requirement and doesn't involve the re-subdivision. It's an older home. I don't know if any of you have been by it. It's a beautiful brick home. In fact, I went by it again today, which I normally do before a meeting, and kind of looked at it myself and said, boy, that's really a nice house. And maybe it needs a little work. I don't know on the inside, but it's a very pretty home on Church Street, probably one of the nicer houses there. So here conceptually, we're proposing a new home on what we're calling 12 Church Street. And again, 26,000 square feet, so meets your minimum, 150 feet of frontage, and a new lot line along between the other house and outbuildings, which comes here off of Church, comes back, turns to the left, and then again goes to the back lot line adjacent to the intermediate school. It's all open except for the rear parcel here. You see there's an existing brush line or tree line. And again, this is an open field. There's a row of hedges located here and one large, I think 24-inch tree that's located up here in the front, which we would like to remain. Again, sewer water connections out to the street, bituminous driveway. Did have a couple of comments from Len Norton with regard to the drainage. He asked us to provide a dry well for the roof water, which Tim Kuhn has added over here. And we've got also a footing drain, or a sump pump going into that if it's needed. I'm not sure that it would be here. It's pretty sandy. And then he asked us to grade the driveway and kind of tilt it to the side, if you will. If you look at the contours crossing the driveway, they're not perpendicular to the driveway itself. So we're shedding the water off of the driveway into the lawn area before it gets out into the street. So those were a couple of comments that Len Norton had, and we've addressed those and sent this information back to staff. I don't know if you have a new memo from Len yet. You may not have, but it's something that we did do, and believe that we meet the requirements that Len was looking for to make it a little less desirable. Not, I should say, a little more desirable for him in terms of mitigating any additional runoff coming from the property with the new house and the driveway. Again, there's some waivers that we're looking for here in terms of sidewalks and streetlights, and it's an existing roadway, obviously, and there are no, not proposing any new roads. And we're also looking for a waiver of the open space. And here we have a situation that's a little bit different. And I did run across it once before in another application a few years back, and I don't remember whether it was in East Windsor, but what's happened here is that back in 1965, Dave Grigley's, and I'm going to say grandfather, and I'm sorry if I'm wrong, Dave, I don't think it was your dad, but I think it was your grandfather, gifted about 8 acres of land to the town when they were constructing the intermediate school. And it was part of this farm, or the Grigley farm, I think is what I'm calling it. And I believe they were farmers. And he gave this land to the school in 65, or to the town. And when we look at the deed, it says consideration was $1. The assessor's card says that there was no consideration, that it was gifted, I guess, if you will. And I sent copies of that information over to Mike, and I don't know if he shared it with you, but if you'd like to see it, I think I could show it to you so we could take a look, and just bear with me here for a minute. Let me see if I can pull it up. So can everybody see this? No,
Not yet.
No,
not yet. Okay, hold on. How about now?
Yes.
Okay. So this is a survey that was done back in 1965, and it was done for the town of East Windsor by Hayden Griswold. And what it shows here is a number of parcels of land, and you can see here it's labeled school site. Over here it's called open space. The piece that I've got highlighted here in yellow is about 8 acres as I scaled it out, because it doesn't give an acreage. And if you look right here below where it says open space, it says now or formerly Grigley. the part that we're looking at right now in terms of this re-subdivision is right here where my cursor is at Church Street, and it says Wendell and Anna Grigley. And this is the piece of land that we're now looking at that's part of this re-subdivision. They retained that. This was their home, the garage and the shed and so forth, and the rest of the farm. They kept that and they continued to live there, but they gifted this 8 acres to the town of East Windsor. And this particular survey shows that. It also shows other parcels here that were part of the school site that were owned by other owners, but this happens to be the Grigley parcel here. Now, I also have here, and let me see if I can come up with that. That's what I'm looking for. Well, maybe I don't have it. I thought I did. I thought I had the deed and I thought I had the assessor's card, which I sent over to Mike, but I don't think I must not have scanned it. So let me go back to the resub plan. So can everybody see the resub plan now? No.
It's not up yet.
Okay, hold on again.
Jay, you have to get used to sharing all these plans. We'll be back in person.
I hope so. I'm ready. How about now?
It's there. Yep.
Okay. So again, the school is off here to the north, and that's the 8 acres that was shown on that plan. And I did send along a copy of a deed. And the deed actually matches the deed reference on the assessor's card. The dates match. It was 1965 when it was conveyed to the town. And according to Dave, he remembers his grandfather saying that, you know, some of the school land was part of the former Grigley farm that he gave to the town back in 1965. So that was the reason for the request for the waiver on the open space, and that, you know, a substantial amount of acreage was donated to the town some years back. And it appears that we've got pretty sufficient evidence indicating that that actually happened. So, and that's one of the waivers that we were looking at, along with the sidewalks and the streetlights. Again, I think we addressed Len Norton's comments with the additions of the dry well for the roof leaders. I don't think there was anything else in Mike D'Amato's memo that I missed, and I know he'll certainly chime in if I did, because I could have. But that's an overview of what we're looking to do here. So it's one new lot, meeting your minimum requirements for the zone, existing house, garage, and shed being retained, and then that portion of the rear piece of land, which is over here to the west or the northwest, which will be combined with the property owned by Richard and Elizabeth Laborious. And that's going to go with their lot, this back portion. So essentially there's new house lot, piece to be combined with Laborious and their house, and then the remaining house staying on a conforming lot, meeting the requirements in your current zoning regulations. So that's a basic overview of what they're looking to do here with this particular application. So if anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them for you.
Okay. Ann, why don't we start with you?
I don't really have any questions, but I'm kind of, as I think about it, I think of as much as I would like sidewalks near a school, the house on Rye Street that subdivided a lot where you'd only get the sidewalk on the new parcel. I understand that doesn't make sense unless there was sidewalk all on the street already, which I'm guessing there isn't. So I'm good with that. I don't know the street at night, so I can't really comment to the street lights. So I would like input from anybody on the commission who has driven that at night. And
Yeah, I know somebody who might be able to weigh in on that.
right, that's what I was hoping. And then I think that the concept of having donated 8 acres to the town is a very reasonable concept unless the commission has in the past not accepted that kind of idea, or we can't. But I think that's a very good argument. So that's really all I have on that.
Thank you, Ann. Mike Kozlowski?
Yeah, I am very familiar with this location. There are street lights and there's a pole, I believe, right in front of that property that I think has a light on it, right there. And, I mean, to me, I live on this street for over 20 plus years. It's always looked to me like a vacant building lot. So, I mean, it makes sense that it gets developed into something. That's all I got.
Do you have an opinion regarding the open space and the sidewalks?
I think they,
With the waiver request for both.
yeah, I mean, I think, you know, as much as I would love to see sidewalks on our street, unless we did the entire street, that little part would have no value at all. And I think the family has been more than generous to the town already, providing all that land for the school system.
Thank you. Jim Thurs?
Yeah, I agree with Jay. It's a beautiful property. It's a beautiful lot. I drove by it a few days ago just to check it out. I also agree about the sidewalks. I don't think they're necessary. And the open space, like Mike said, the family did the town a great service back in '65 and donated that land. Without them, there wouldn't be a soccer field there or a baseball field or anything. Well, school probably would have went there, but it would have been tight. And the least thing we can do to pay them back is to waive the fee. If we have the power to do that, I'm not sure.
Okay, thank you. I don't have any comments. And I'm going to ask Mike D'Amato your opinion regarding that fee in lieu of, because I also are the opinion that it appears that there's, in my opinion, there's enough evidence that they have donated to land to the town. And I think it is reasonable to waive that unless there's some requirement that we can't.
Yeah. So I'm just gonna go through the our subdivision regulations one more time just to reread it because I don't have it memorized as far as the criteria for open space. Give me one quick second.
Okay. Well, in the meantime, what I'll do is I can, while you're researching it, I'll open this up to public comments. So this is, audience, this is a public hearing. Are there any members of the audience wish to comment on this proposed re-subdivision application? Hello, anyone from the audience wish to speak?
I'm Dave Grigley. I just want to, as Jay mentioned, there is a deed that goes along with that map. I do have it if that's necessary. Piece of document you need for this. I believe it's in the town records, but I do have the deed that coincides with the map he was showing for the gifted 8 acres.
Thank you, Dave.
My name is Betsy Grigley Laborious, and I just want to, I don't know who acknowledged the Grigley family for their contribution to the town, but thank you very much.
Thank you, Betsy. So Jay, do you have any final or any additional comments?
No, I don't think I have anything in addition at this point in time. Dave's correct. There is a deed. He provided that to us and I did send it over to Mike. He may not have seen it yet. And as I said, the deed and the dates on the deed do correspond with the assessor's card and the survey, and it's, all the pieces seem to fit together and kind of makes sense to me that, and Dave's recollection and probably Betsy's as well, is that, you know, Grandpa donated the land for the school and he remembered it, and it, based on the information that they still had, didn't even have to go to the town hall. They had it themselves, that it all seems to make sense. And it looks like the 8 acres certainly was donated by the family to the town of East Windsor. So other than that, I don't have anything else to add at this point in time, unless somebody else has another question.
Hey, Joe,
Yes.
I have kind of a thought that, you know, may help clarify or at least give us an avenue on this. Is we're basically dealing with a parcel that the same family lineage is subdividing, and they have donated open space, just in kind of a reverse order. They donated first, then subdivided, versus doing the subdivision and then the donations. So, but the same entity is presenting all of the steps, but just out of order. So that may satisfy the requirements. If we cannot waive it, it's already been satisfied, just in reverse order.
Okay, that logic makes sense to me. Mike D'Amato, do you need some more time other than tonight to research that this course of action is legally binding by the commission? Because I think that's the way we'd like to head. And do you
Yeah.
want some more time just to confirm that, so we don't get ourselves into trouble?
As much as I'm sure we'd like to get it done tonight, I would like a little bit of time. There's no question that the provision of giving this parcel to the town absolutely meets the intent of the regulations. If you read it, it's very clear. The problem is when you start talking about exemptions, it's also very clear as to we would not be waiving the open space, because they've given open space. So we're not issuing the waiver. So you guys can't approve the waiver. We would have to basically back into an acknowledgement through a note on the plan and a finding that they provided open space to the town in a total of 8 acres, which we would note on the plan, right? So like the commissioner said, it happened in a different order, but we're not waiving the requirement because they provided well beyond what would have been required if the subdivision were approved. I just don't want to get you guys backed into a corner down the road. And there's some language in here that talks about at the time of application, and some other things. So I would prefer to have a little bit of time to pull something together so that we're ironclad with the understanding that that's the way we want to go.
Yeah, the board is unanimous on our preference to go in that direction. So would you be able to work with Jay to either put a proper notation on the plan so it's clear for the public record moving forward? If in fact you don't feel it's comfortable, if you don't really, so if we're not going to be waiving any requirements because the fact it's already been done, we just want to memorialize it somewhere.
I think what he's going to have to do is in the draft approval motion in the general conditions, recraft number 17 in a more artful way to handle this specific situation. And I'm sure that takes time because this is a first for us.
So Mike, I certainly think it's valuable to have the additional time for 2 weeks. My question to you is now, should we close the public hearing or just keep everything open for another 2 weeks?
Yeah, we don't gain anything by closing, in my mind. So just in case there's some discussion that needs to happen, I'm thinking about this and I'm almost wondering if we include on the map the parcel that is by the town, and just show that as the open space parcel on the subdivision plan. So he can show that, he can show the subdivision plan, he can show the town of East Windsor parcel, include that this is an 8-acre piece that's, reference the deed, volume and page when it was given to the town. The subdivision regulations clearly support that open space can be given to the town, so the intent is fine. But when someone looks at this plan 50 years from now, it'll be very clear that the land owned now by the school is open space that was originally part of this one parcel. So I'm trying to make sure that the breadcrumb trail matches. So my preference would be, let's just hold unless someone has an objection, because then we're not boxed in later.
Okay. Jay Ursary, how do you feel about that? Are you okay with that course of action?
Comfortable with that. I think Mike's suggestion is a good one. We can add maybe like a key plan, if you will, to show the entire parcel and the 8 acres that went to the school, and we can reference the volume and page of the conveyance and put a notation on the plan, as well as citing that particular section of your regulations that talks about the open space requirements. So as you said, it's all kind of memorialized and there on the sheet, so that everybody can see it and they know what happened, 50 years from now, because otherwise.
Just being very
I think-
transparent.
I think Mike is right. That's, somebody could look at this later and go, well, how did they do this? What did they do? Because it may not be clear. It probably would not be clear. And I think everything we can do to make it as clear as possible makes sense to me. So unless Dave Grigley or Betsy has an issue with keeping the hearing open for a couple of more weeks, I think that's fine on my end, and we can put something together to make everybody comfortable with what we're doing as it moves forward.
I have no objections, Jay. Fine.
Jay, I'm fine with that. As far as, I think that's a good solution.
Okay, terrific. Thank you. So any final comments from the commission or staff before we continue the public hearing to our next meeting? Yes, Mike.
I mean, this parcel of open space, I mean, if we were looking at a brand new application for development, it would meet all the criteria for what we want for open space. It's adjacent to publicly owned land. It has value. So I think all of the open space requirements are met regardless with that piece of property. So we're not doing anything that we wouldn't normally accept as open space.
Just in reverse order.
Exactly.
Very good. Okay, with that, I'll entertain a motion to continue the public hearing to our next meeting.
I'll move.
Go ahead.
I'll move to continue the public hearing on application PZ 2021-17, 8 Church Street re-subdivision. It's a 1-lot re-subdivision, map 097, block 30, lot 52. It's an R2 zone, and it will be continued until our next meeting, which is May 25th.
There's a motion on the table to continue the public hearing to May 25th. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, I call for a vote. All those in favor say aye or raise their hand.
Aye.
I see
Aye.
4 hands, unanimous. Thank you for being patient with us, and see you in 2 weeks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, our last public hearing for tonight, PZ-2021-18, 76 and 84 North Road and 7 Winkler Road. Special use permit application for construction of an automatic car wash accessory to an existing automotive filling station. The owner applicant is Noble Energy Real Estate. Good afternoon, Tim. Good evening.
Good
Sorry.
evening. Welcome to the second part of the J.R. Russo tag team. I am Tim Kuhn with J.R. Russo here tonight, representing Noble Energy Real Estate, along with Mike Frisbee, the owner and applicant. You likely recall that we were in front of you in March with a request for a text amendment that allows a car wash as an accessory use to an automotive filling station in the B3 zone, and you were kind enough to approve that text amendment. So we are here tonight with our site plan, seeking site plan and special use permit approval for this car wash. I will share my screen if I am allowed. All right. Okay, so if you all see this, this is the existing conditions plan of the property at 76, 84 and North 76 and 84 North Road and 7 Winkler Road. There are 3 separate parcels currently totaling 4.8 acres, and they're all zoned B3. 76, which is this parcel to the, and I'll just so you're aware, north on this plan is actually to the bottom of the page and south is to the top of the page. North Road is at the bottom, Winkler Road is at the top to the south of the site. As I was saying, 76 North Road is currently the location of the Noble Energy gas station and convenience store, which was developed a few years ago. And 84 North Road is the current location of a house, which Mike has an option on. And then 7 Winkler Road is the parcel off of Winkler Road to the south, which is currently occupied by a storage building. And there's a little bit of a pond back there that you probably are all familiar with the location of that. This is, as I mentioned, all B3 zoned. However, there is a residential property to our east, located here on this side. There is another residential property to the southeast off of Winkler Road. The land across Winkler Road is fire department property, but it's undeveloped. And then we have another residential property, not that it's necessarily impacted by the current approval because it's on the other side of the existing gas station. There's a residential home over here to the west, and then down across North Road, we have more B3 undeveloped land. So we are proposing to merge the 3 lots and construct a 2,771 square foot car wash, which is an automated car wash, which will be accessory to the existing gas station. Access, we are proposing a curb cut off of North Road, as well as an interconnection with the existing driveway that goes around the gas station. And as you recall, the gas station circulation is essentially one-way counterclockwise around the building. And you'll notice that it comes here. So this portion of the driveway is currently it's one way from south to north through this area. Okay. There will be a parking lot to the west of the building. This will be the location of couple of employee spaces, as well as some vacuum facilities. And there will be a queuing lane for the automated car wash, which kind of wraps up and around to the south of the building. You go through the automated car wash, you come out on the north side, and then you can either go back out to North Road or back to the gas station. I will also mention at this point in time, the application does include the installation of 3 new electric charging stations at the 3 existing parking spaces at the existing gas station. And right now, we're showing them located here, although I believe there's also the potential that they might be moved up to these northern spaces. That's something like, I don't know if he's decided on that yet. The site will be served by the municipal water, sewer, and natural gas. The car wash will have a water recycling system. That system, I believe, reclaims approximately 65% of the wash water for reuse. The site will also be served by a new on-site stormwater management system, which will include catch basins in the paved areas and parking lots to collect the runoff and convey it to a new stormwater management basin, which will be constructed on the lot at 7 Winkler Road. And then this basin will discharge to an existing catch basin at the edge of Winkler Road, which ultimately goes and discharges across the street. The whole stormwater system has been designed in accordance with the Connecticut Water Quality Manual. With regard to dumpster, the existing dumpster pad for the gas station is over in this location, and what we're proposing to do is to expand this dumpster pad for an additional dumpster, and also construct a new wood enclosure around it. Currently, it's got a chain link fence with privacy slats, and Mike is desire to dress that up and make it look nicer. So we're proposing a new wood enclosure around that dumpster enclosure. We will be putting in a sidewalk connection between the car wash and the gas station site. This will run along to provide access to the dumpsters as well. We are also proposing sidewalk up along North Road to connect the existing sidewalk that was constructed with the gas station and extend that out to the edge of our property line in order to meet the sidewalk requirements. With regard to site lighting, we will be installing 2 new pole-mounted sets of lights. One is going to be located down here at the northern end of the parking lot, another up at the southern end of the parking lot. We did provide cut sheets of the fixtures as well as a photometric plan which demonstrates that there's no light spillage over any of our abutting property lines. We will also be relocating a couple of light poles in this area when we reconfigure make the driveway connection and do the dumpster pad as well. We are showing a proposed sign up by the entrance. Again, the sign will meet your sign requirements with regard to setback, area, and height. With regard to landscaping, we are a commercial use adjacent to a residential use, therefore there is a buffer requirement. And in order to accomplish this and meet this requirement, we are doing several things. We're proposing a solid vinyl fence along this property line, as well as a row of evergreen trees in order to screen this from, essentially this is just a driveway. The house of the neighbor is located back here to the south of the property. So in that area, we are going to be building a 4-foot-high berm and putting a double row of staggered evergreens on that in order to provide screening. In addition, in response to some comments made by Mike in his memo, we are showing it. It doesn't show up very well, but we have added a row of evergreen trees to provide screening at the south end of our queuing lane from areas to the south, just as another measure to provide screening. Other landscaping includes some street trees up along the front, some flowering trees around the parking lot in the building, as well as some areas for planting beds around the building, both in the front of the building and the rear of the building. Architectural plans were provided. I pulled up the architectural elevations. This, for the most part, matches what you see at the gas station. There is, a cultured stone section down at the bottom with clapboard siding. The roof system here, however, is going to be a standing seam metal roofing as opposed to I believe there's shingles on the gas station site. But similar to the gas station, there will be, glass, storefront windows and doors to make a very attractive look that matches the gas station for the most part. We were subject to a wetlands permit due to the proximity of our stormwater management basin and some of our work in proximity to the existing pond and the wetland associated with the pond. We did receive an approval last week from the Wetlands Commission. We also have a memo from the town engineer, Len Norton, stating that we have addressed all of his comments. And we've also submitted a letter from the Water Pollution Control Authority stating that there's sufficient sewer capacity available for our proposed use. I did mention that we recently received some comments from Mike D'Amato. Unfortunately, we didn't necessarily have time to get you revised plans or a response letter to address his comments. So I just want to go through some of his comments now. He did mention or recommend the additional plantings and screening to the south of our queuing lane, which we have added to this exhibit and will be shown on the final plan sets that are submitted. He also recommended that the spaces that are over here located east of the drive-through window be made angled parking in order to promote the one-way circulation pattern around the building. So we've done that as well. We've changed these to angled parking. He also had recommended adding striping and signage to promote this one-way circulation. It is essentially, it's already striped for this. We have a lane, a stop bar, and there's a couple of signs that say do not enter to prevent people from going the wrong way in this direction. We will also be adding a right turn arrow, a little striped island to promote the right turn, as well as a sign saying right turn only, where our new driveway connects into the existing driveway again to promote that one-way circulation. Mike also recommended retaining a portion of the existing concrete pad out there as for an outdoor patio area. And after discussing that with Mike, we agreed that that would be a good idea. Right now, there's an existing concrete slab in this area, and we will be saw cutting a portion of it and removing it to allow for construction of the sidewalk and driveway. But this is about a 20 by 20 foot area, which we will retain as a kind of an outdoor patio area. And finally, Mike requested some additional information to address potential noise issues from both the car wash and the vacuums. And he even went and recommended a condition of approval that the car wash be equipped with automatic doors so that the doors will be closed while the car wash is in operation. I'll take the vacuums first. And what I will show was originally this design included an area here, and I'm going to go back to the other plans because it shows up better. You just bear with me a second. One more. Okay, so what this shows here is in our original design, we were proposing a turbine enclosure. And what we were going to do is there was initially going to be a single turbine to power all the vacuums out there. And although it would be housed in an enclosure, essentially this type of turbine runs continuously throughout the day. So what Mike has agreed to do is replace that turbine enclosure, the single turbine enclosure, with individual vacuums. There would be 5 of them serving 2 stalls each. So where these individual vacuum hoses, which would be driven by the turbine, would be replaced by 5 individual vacuums, if you will. And the advantage to the individual vacuums, other than being a little quieter, is the fact that they also only run when they're in operation. And you can correct me if I'm wrong, Mike, but I believe that's the case.
That's correct.
Yep. All right. So we do have some information with regard to these vacuums, and the 3-motor option, which Mike is proposing. You'll notice down here the decibel levels that each one produces at different distances away from the vacuum. So it's at 10 feet away, you're at 77 decibels. At 20 feet away, it drops to 70. At 64 feet away, or I'm sorry, at 30 feet away, it drops to 64. The town of East Windsor's noise standard requires that where a commercial property is the noise emitter, at the nearby residential property line, the decibels cannot exceed 55 decibels. Okay, so I'm going to bring you back to our site plan here and show you that essentially our closest vacuum, which would be this one, to the property line is 90 feet away. So if you interpolate the drop in the decibels as you get further away from the vacuum, even without any buffering, by the time you reach the property line, you'd be less than that 55 decibels. But what we also are providing is we have the building. The building is a buffer. The vacuums are on the other side of the building from the residential property. We also have a solid fence as well as evergreen trees. And up here at the north end, we also have a 4-foot berm with two staggered rows of evergreen trees. And essentially, this is where the house is located. The house is located back off to the east here. So with these measures to buffer the noise and with the information provided on how much these vacuums generate, we're confident that there's not going to be noise and exceedance of the town's requirements at the property line with regard to the vacuums. Now, with regard to the proposed condition that the doors be closed during the operation of the car wash, because this is a high-speed automatic car wash operation, having the doors open and close for each car that goes in and out really isn't feasible. And we believe it's not necessary either. The noise that is generated from the car wash obviously is in the building. And you'll notice that our doors are oriented north-south. So any noise that's generated is essentially going to be projected north and south out those doors. And again, we have the evergreen trees, we have a solid fence, we've got a berm and distance. And the receptor essentially is to our east, not to the north and south where that noise would be projected. The blowers obviously would be at the exit to the car wash on the north side, which is even further away from our residential receptor up to the southeast there. So we do feel that, you know, with the measures that we're taking to provide screening and all this, these provide great buffers to the noise, as well as the orientation of the building, that, you know, having the doors open and close every time a car enters is not really necessary based on the other measures that we're taking and the actual noise that's generated anyway. Let's see. I believe that concludes my presentation. I hope that I covered everything, and we hope that you would approve us, well, or consider us for approval. At this point, I will ask Mike if he has anything to add, and then if he's good, then we can entertain questions from the commission. So Mike, would you like to say something?
So hopefully, Tim, you did a good job, and hopefully, good evening, everybody. Good to see you again. I hope you'll take into consideration the modification and changes that we made with regard to our neighbors. The turbine itself is probably a better system in the sense that the vacuums will last a little longer and they'll suck a little bit harder, for lack of better terms. But with the understanding that the changes that we made to the individual vacuums on the poles are actually better individualized, and they're only operating when somebody comes up and actually pushes the button, where the turbine system, they're continually running all the time. So at the less than peak times, there won't be any noise at all. The vacuums won't be running at all. And we're finding that it's probably a better fit for, more locations like this. The turbine's actually better when you have more vacuums. So we're able to make that change. And then with regard to the doors that Mike had made mention of, and Tim explained, because it's an express model where your cars are continually coming out every few seconds, we're running on a conveyor system and bringing them through. The doors will be flapping open and closed on our busiest times. Now, yes, the doors will be closed on times when cars aren't running through, but the system, the way it's set up is, car will come on the conveyor system and be pulled through. The next car would come in right after that and be pulled through, and then they would exit. So it would lead to people, what folks have told me, people would lead to their claustrophobia, and they start stepping on the brake and wonder if the doors are going to open or close. So we'd prefer to have a system where there weren't doors on there and not have to slow down the production. So those are the two things. The last thing I'll add is hopefully you'll see that if we're fortunate enough to get approved, that we would take great care of the area and the landscaping, as we do out there now. We're blessed to have a big lot that allows us to show that off, and I think we do a pretty good job of keeping it up, and I hope to do the same thing here. So with that, I'll open it up to any questions anybody might have.
Okay, thank you. I guess I'll go first this time. I yield to my colleagues, so now I'll have a chance. This one, is this a 24-hour operation, or is it just when there's a person manning the automatic car wash? How's that going to work?
So there will be an attendant there at all times. It will not be a 24-hour operation. Generally, operation hours are no later than 8 p.m. We'll open up 7 or 8 in the morning, depending on the type of customer needs, but it generally won't be earlier than 7 or later than 8 p.m.
How long does the wash drying cycle take? Approximate time to go through both of those? Or maybe I should say from when it enters the car wash to when it exits. How long is that approximately?
So you're talking just over a minute in the busiest times where we can run cars through there. It would be great to be in a position where you could run 60 cars through, an hour, but that's generally not how it works. So by the time you prep the car, it takes 10 to 15 seconds to prep the car, and they start the conveyor system. It takes about a minute to 1:20 seconds to get through this full cycle. Now, this is a 100-foot building, so it's it's got an equipment package in it that allows the pre-soak, the brushes to touch the car, and then depending on the level of services that you ask for, where it's the wax and the ceramic touch. But generally a minute 20 to get through the system, and we can slow it down if there's less cars coming through as well.
Just a couple more questions before I turn it over to my colleagues. So what is the value of this new driveway on Route 140? Why is that a critical component to this design?
For us, we see two things. One, safety, be able to get, emergency vehicles in and out, as well as if we were able to redesign where the existing high-speed diesel tank and the dispenser was, I think we would have a better chance of having a better flow through the traffic from the gas station over to the car wash site. If we were designing this, today before we built the gas station, I'd design it totally different. But in order for cars to, get in and out comfortably, what I think we've done a good job at is directing the gas station customers that want a car wash to be able to transition around the building, and hopefully we'll put signage in there to allow them to do that, and then they can comfortably go into there and then exit out on the route. 140 without having to traverse back into the gas station and then get caught up in the traffic from the station itself.
And I would just like to add that we did have a meeting with the fire marshal to just go over the site plan. And he was in agreement that the curb cut onto Route 140 was a must, just to allow for emergency vehicle access. Otherwise, they would have to, come and essentially drive through the gas station area and or around the gas station through the one-way circulation in order to get to this site. So he was definitely in favor of the curb cut on Route 140.
So, Tim, do you know the width of Route 140 from at the new driveway, from the center line to the right curb? You know how wide their road is there?
I can measure that I think I can measure that on the plan I have here. Hang on one second.
Because where I'm going with this is, it's guaranteed if DOT sees this plan, they're going to require 20 feet from the center line to the right curb. Similar is what they did with the other driveways. On a 45-mile-an-hour speed limit road, you have to have a minimum of 20 feet, or they're going to request that the road be widened. So that's why I asked how important this driveway was for you.
It looks like it's about 34 feet wide at our end.
No, from the center line
From the
to
center
the
line,
right
it's about-
curve is
it's about
34,
8
because it's in the taper area for the other driveways. Why is it so wide there?
From the center line, Joe, I apologize. For the center line, it's about 18 feet.
18 feet.
Yep.
Well, just be prepared when you get submitted for an encroachment permit. Don't be surprised. They're going to ask you to widen the road for 2 feet.
Well, we have the space for it, and it certainly wouldn't take away from anything there. If we were, if they required that, then we'd certainly work with them to make that happen.
Okay, there's a couple other questions. I guess I don't. I use this filling station quite a bit. Probably once a week, and I probably don't frequent the locations, maybe some of the other members of the board here who live in more close proximity to the site. But one thing I do notice is, particularly those who are traveling east on Run 140, whatever reason, they like to use your site as a cut through to get to Winkler Road, even though they're going the wrong way for a portion behind the building. I don't know, maybe I just attract people that don't know how to drive, or people are just oblivious to the rules of the road and cutting through private driveways to save a few extra feet. So Mike, have you seen that in your visits to your own site? People not stopping to be serviced by your own business and cutting through from North Road to Winkler Road?
Sometimes we see that. I can't, I don't understand why people do it sometimes. They just, maybe they think they're just keeping an eye on stuff, or they're trying to see what's happening as opposed to making them more convenient, right? And just following the road the way it is. But we do see that sometimes, but it doesn't seem to be a problem in the sense that it's happening all the time, but it's probably the same people doing the same movement, because folks generally driving that road, they're not making that movement.
Okay.
From what I noticed.
And my final question to you is, what's the largest size vehicle can fit in the car wash?
That's a great question, because the system that we're putting in is we're going away from the chain system where it's a rear pull and going to a conveyor system, which is like what I describe as the magic carpet, where the cars pull up on and then they pull them through. The reason we're going to this system is it's twofold, or threefold actually. You can have cars with a lower profile that can come through and not, get damaged by the rail system. To the larger trucks that have the dual wheels can now come through our car wash. And more importantly, I think, is the future of transportation is the automated cars, the Teslas, or any of the new electric vehicles that have the autonomous features. they can't go through a conveyor system right now. I mean, a chain system right now. The car has trouble getting into neutral. And these systems will allow you to pull up and go into neutral, or just put your foot on the brake and be able to allow you to go through. And if somebody takes their foot off the brake, they just go through and they're not going to hurt anything moving through. So it's a newer system. It's been around for a number of years, but it's not in this marketplace. But allows us to get to the bigger vehicles and more vehicles to be able to frequent our car wash.
I guess I do have one more question and a comment. Regarding the number of vacuums. So if it takes approximately a minute for a vehicle to cycle through and they decide to use the vacuums, I would assume that people use the vacuums after they wash the car. What are the tendencies?
It depends on
Would that be a requirement that they use the vacuums after?
Yes, well, that's what we're shooting for. We wouldn't say that people wouldn't drive in and get they're going to see a spot. They'll probably go. The nature is they'll try to drive in and see their spot. One of the things that we were considering for this location is we're creating a membership program, so an unlimited wash program. And as part of that, I haven't decided yet, but it may be free vacuums for your members. And what that would mean is we're going to have license plate recognition as part of the program, but we could put the license plate recognition so that there'd be an arm there, so you get and then you get to use the vacuums versus anybody just pulling off the street using the vacuums, dumping all their trash and then leaving without frequenting the car wash. So we're toying with that idea, but as it's designed right now, anybody could pull up and use those vacuums.
And I'm glad I left my comment after I asked my question, is because I want to applaud you for your forward thinking as a businessman. You use the technology. You just truly amaze me how proactive you are in this market. And I just wish more people would think like you. Thank you.
Well, thank you. I may invite you to come speak at some other towns because they don't think I'm so proactive in certain things, and they just think we're just building big gas stations and we don't need any more. So.
Thank you.
Thank
you. Jim, go ahead. Any questions or comments?
Yeah, I have a few questions. I was looking at the photometric plan. I think you're probably gonna need a couple wall packs on the building for the by the vacuum side. Yeah, right in there. Probably 2 on that building. So if you're vacuuming your car, it's gonna be pretty dark. You're at 0.9, 0.8. Right in there, a couple spots. I don't think those lights in the parking lot are gonna reach that far enough. So I'd like to see a couple wall packs there, if you could.
I can work with the architect. We'll pick something decorative that would make sense and look good there.
Yeah, it's right in front of your vacuums. That's kind of your highlight where people are maybe vacuuming out their car. So that was one question. Joe took the hours of operation. I had that question. When you pull up to the turnstiles by the when you first go in, and it's got an attendant booth there, how do you know which lane goes first? Is there a green light or a lighting system that tells you to go? It's your turn.
Yeah, so there'll be a bar. There'll be a bar that comes up and down, or a gate that where you're at the POS system, and I think in this market we're going to be able to have a kind of an express lane for the members, and then folks that are trying to figure out what type of wash they'll have. Now you'd be able to go through both lanes with the express. I'm going to feel that out and see how we go and the number of members we get, and at the beginning it'll be both, and they'll kind of flow through, and then as we get more members, try to to provide that service. But there'll be a gate there, and then the gate will open when it's your turn to go through.
Okay. Also, is there going to be like the old school car washes? Is there going to be like a viewing station where people can actually walk in and look through the glass and see their cars being washed? Or
Nope. There'll be an office there for people to come in. If they want to get gift cards, or if they have an issue, we can address that right there. Or if somebody wants a membership program, they'll be able to come in. One of the things that we're proposing is. To answer your question directly, no, you won't be able to view your car going through. You're going to stay in your car, and just drive it through, and that's why we call it express model. There's no detailing. There's no other people wiping down your car or anything like that nature.
Last question: any kind of vending machines in there for like Armor All and items like that?
Yes, we're gonna have a vending machine inside the office. It won't be outside. It won't be, people won't be able to get at it or for vandalism or, the temptation. So during normal operating hours, people will be able to go in the vending machine in the office and get something out of the vending machine for that. We'll also have mat cleaners there as a free service to our members. So it's just a automated thing. You can have the mat cleaners there, so you can take your mats out and wash them up and clean them up.
Okay, that's all I have. It looks great.
Great,
Thank you.
Mike Kozowski?
Okay, I see just one issue that I can't figure out how you're gonna work this is, what do you do if somebody pulls down this lane and all of a sudden they realize they don't have their wallet, they don't have a method to pay or something, or they change their mind? There's no place for anybody to bail out once they're in queue. How would you address something like that?
Don't let this out, Mike, but we just let them go through the car wash and they get a free car wash, and they'll come back and pay us sometime. That's one of the operating, the operating flaws when you're trying to limit the amount of pavement and have bypass lanes, things of that nature. But we're servicing the community generally, and those are the kind of things that we do differently than other folks.
So what about if the vehicle's oversized?
If it's oversized, that's a good question. We generally don't, because what we'll put is we'll put where the cars are before they get into the major queue there. We'll have a bar, like you go through the Dunkin' drive-through.
You're gonna have overhead arc
height restriction bar. I'm sorry I didn't mention that earlier. I don't think it's on the plan, but before they get to the sidewalk. Generally in that sidewalk area, they'll be able to stop, and if we have to, we can back them out from there. But
because I'm personally, I've got a crew cab dually, but I've got a wing on the top of it, so I need 10 foot of clearance. So if I made the mistake of pulling in there, I wouldn't be able to go through the wash.
good point. I'll figure out how to address those type of issues. So I'll figure something out. But thank you.
Okay.
Before you show up, we'll measure.
What's that?
Before you show up, we'll measure.
Okay, good. You did mention though pre-treatment and stuff. That's all going to be done inside the building, nothing exterior?
Yes, sir. That's inside the building. We've designed the building to allow the car to come in fully and pre-treat inside the building, so people, the attendants won't be hanging out in the driveway, and doing their thing. So.
Okay. And then lastly, as far as high-speed doors, my company owns several car washes, and we've installed high-speed doors on all of them, mostly for the ability to keep them from freezing. Sometimes it's real hard to keep those places warm enough with the doors open. So you may want to think about at least having the provisions to be able to add them at some point if you find that in the winter months you just can't keep it from freezing.
Point well taken. I think we'll adjust as we find we need to, for sure.
Okay. That's all I have.
Thank you.
Okay, Ann, your turn.
I think it's an impressive plan. I'm thrilled to see the car chargers. The town desperately needs that, and they're close enough to the highway that people who need a charge to keep going will have that ability. You did a good job explaining the noise implications to the neighbor on the left hand of my screen, but at the top of the screen, it looks like there's another neighbor. And I'm wondering if you could talk a little bit about the parcel here. I can't read the name on it.
Okay, I can address that. Yes, there is another, this is a residential property to our south. And however, there is, it doesn't really, I'm wondering if I got a larger scale drawing. Hang on 1 minute to see if I got something that shows that a little better. I don't know if I do.
The house may be far away, but it's
Okay.
their yard too.
This is a little bigger. Well, this entire area here, this is all, there's a pond here and there's wetlands and this is all existing trees through here. So there's already a natural buffer. And in addition to the fact that the house is considerably farther away.
Are they
So-
deciduous trees that,
Excuse me?
are they deciduous trees back in there or are they leaf
Um,
around?
Yeah, I don't, to be honest with you, I've walked through there, but off the top of my head, I can't tell you if it's a mixture of deciduous and conifers or what the mixture is. One thing that we are doing though, is we will be, per Mike's recommendation, adding some evergreen trees to provide additional
Okay.
buffer on the
That's-
south end of
that'll
our
be
tree
the-
line.
Noise buffer there.
Yep.
And did you do the calculation that by the time you hit their property line, you're under the
I
decibel?
think the same interpolation would apply when you look at the reduction.
But does the sound carry better across the water of that pond? Or not?
I would imagine it would carry through the open, but there's still an existing trees there, and it'll be reduced to below the 55 before it even reaches the pond. Because if you extrapolate, it looks like every 10 feet, it drops 7 decibels, 6 decibels. If you continue to work that out, and then you figure out the distance between where we are and the property line, this is, hundreds of feet here. So when you get out hundreds of feet, you're going to be well below the 55 decibels.
Okay, it's just usually when you're at water and the other side of a lake from somebody, the sound carries very well
Yeah.
across water. But if the evergreens,
It's a combination.
center.
There's evergreens and as well as the existing woods that are there.
okay. Another question, if I drove in and did the car wash and then wanted to get back out to Winkler, could I? Or would I be forced back onto 140 and have to make a left and come around?
It would probably be to your benefit to get back out onto Route 140 because of the one-way circulation at the gas station. You could certainly come back into the gas station parcel, but then you would have to drive around the gas station again to back to Winkler Road.
Yeah,
It can be done.
sometimes it's hard to turn left onto 140.
Yeah. So it can be done,
Can be done.
yes.
Okay, I think that's my questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have two additional questions. After hours, will the lights in the vicinity of the car wash be dimmed to a point to provide just maybe ambient lighting or security lighting? And the reason why I'm asking this is if it's fully illuminated, and maybe it needs to be that way, could it give the appearance that the facility is open when it really isn't? Have people just drive in there and say, oh, so they're closed. But if the lights were dimmed in such a way, does that make sense? Or is that part of the plan?
It wasn't part of the plan, but, our attendants would turn the lights off on the building. And, obviously the doors would be closed at that point. So people would notice that it, wasn't open, and we can turn the main ID sign off as well. If that helps, but we need some basic lighting, but I'll look into, having a softer lighting just for safety purposes. We still want to have, we'll have video cameras all the way around the property, but I can look into that too. We want to make sure that it's not shining bright and people think it's open all the time when it's not.
Yeah, because it's kind of hard to tell whether or not these days these wash facilities are open 24 hours or not. That's the reason why I asked you, because most of them I do drive by. I don't think they're as sophisticated as yours, are open more hours. And the other question I came up with is, did you consider alternate layouts or orientations of your building in the drive-through to see what would fit in fit on that parcel or on the remaining lands to see if it would meet your business needs?
We did. We went through several different iterations, moving the building closer to the station, moving it farther back, trying to figure out how we can get it as close as possible to the road without, being uncomfortable for folks in and out. So yeah, Tim and I spent a bunch of time, just sketching things out in different ways and this seems to be the best version of that.
And it provides the most protection to our abutter to the east.
Okay. Mike D'Amato, do you have any questions or comments?
Yeah, the only thing that I'm looking at and trying to, and recognizing that it's really going to be up to DOT what happens with the curb cut. I seem to recall, and maybe I made it up in my head, that there was discussion at the informal about potentially allowing vehicles that are leaving the car wash to only head east on 140, right turn only, to prevent you potentially having 3 points within such a short distance where people are trying to cross 140 and head towards the highway. The problem I'm wondering, and I guess I would look to Tim to outline this, if you have a truck at the high-speed diesel location fueling, will that trailer stack up? So if I'm leaving the car wash and I'm going to go back to the main site, I'm going to go back to that main connection point. And if there's a truck there, is the back end of that truck going to stack up beyond that exit point? Because if it would, then it's going to prevent, then it's going to sort of solve the problem of us being able to say, let's do right only, because then you're going to have cars that are going to be forced to go back to that other portion of the site only to be staring at the back end of a semi truck. So I just, I know you and I have talked about the circulation and me looking at adjusting the driveways, but I didn't know if you looked at that.
Well, yeah, and we believe that the back of that tractor trailer is probably going to end at about that stop bar, so that somebody coming out has the ability to get around to some degree. And with regard, if making this right turn only, I'm not certain how you would limit the exits because we certainly want the entrance to be in from both lanes as well.
Yeah, I mean, you could do a mountable island. I mean, I'm not looking to engineer this on the fly. I just, and ultimately this will be up to DOT. I just having 3 curb cuts in such close proximity, they're in, out, in, out, in, out, knowing that the speeds of that road there is just so high. They travel an extra 100 yards to get themselves to a curb cut that exists versus trying to exit and head towards the highway when you might have 2 other vehicles at 2 other curb cuts 150 feet away trying to do the same thing. And so, but again, I wouldn't want to encourage someone to go to another curb cut if it's just going to create an additional conflict with the back end of a semi truck. That doesn't get us anywhere.
I think in addition to the potential conflict with the back of the tractor trailer truck is trying to not have all the traffic go through the gas station. We feel that it's a safer situation if the people coming out of that car wash, if they want to get back on Route 140, let them get back out there rather than send them back through the internal gas station property.
When we did our analysis, to determine whether or not the car wash was a good use for this market, one of the things that I found with the car wash people that came up from Florida to evaluate the site is they found that the higher percentage of the cars that are coming into the facility and then going to the car wash are generally heading that way on their way home. And our membership program will be a good marker for that too, where they're on their way home, they want to park their clean car in their garage or in their driveway. And they thought that the primary side that's the general path for the cars. So actually the majority of the cars should be making a right in and then a right out there. But there will be folks that are coming from other areas for sure. But I think the majority of the cars will be making that movement. So.
Mike, Mike D'Amato, do you have any other comments or concerns? We're going to have to keep the public hearing open tonight because there's just a few
Yeah. So-
things we need to look into.
A couple of things that I would put out there. So we talked about the mechanical equipment and whether they're on-site vacuums or the existing turbine. I'm not married to either. Whichever one's going to be quieter, I think is the way we need to go. So as far as some of these other things, confirmation the parcels will be merged. That's easy to handle. We talked about the striping. We talked about the outdoor patio. We talked about some of the site circulation stuff. The other thing that I'm suggesting is that we look at a landscape establishment bond so that we can make sure that these berms and plantings, which we're going to be relying so heavily on, will survive the growing season or depending on when they're planted. I know it's not shown on here because it's not something that you would put on a site plan, but one of the things that we really want to make sure we manage, and I know Mike, you'll do this, is trash. People want to stuff all the garbage they can take out of their cars and make it your problem. And I'm thinking because you'll have an attendant there that they'll deal with it because there will be a body on the property. But, I've seen many approvals in other towns with litter management plans and all these other things. And, I think if you're a good property owner, which I think we've established you are, it shouldn't be an issue. But I just wanted to make sure that you're still planning to put some trash receptacles there.
Oh, for sure. I mean, the trash receptacles that we have or planning to put there will actually have covers on them. So, when the wind blows, it doesn't, blow into the neighborhood or into the next yard. So those are the kind of things that we try to, account for that a lot of folks won't.
Where would the employee or employees park that are working at the car wash?
We've got a couple of spaces. Joe, that there's two regular spaces that don't actually have a vacuum associated with them. I believe
Okay.
these were vacuum spaces, and then we had two additional spaces there.
All right. And can you zoom out on the plan a little bit? Yeah, one more time. I want to see Route 140. Okay. So I'm going to build a little scenario. Let's say someone wants to make a left turn into the site at the car wash driveway. So they're entering the site. Now, they want to go straight ahead to the vacuums first. Now, there's that first internal intersection. Who's going to have the right of way? Someone exiting from the car wash facility or someone entering from the street? Because there is that potential conflict. And I guess the reason why I'm talking about this is there a critical point where you have to make sure that the vehicle has cleared the car wash facility outside the doors, and it's not going to create a bottleneck for the future vehicles trying to exit that. You don't want to create a log jam for that operation.
I think we planned for that with the exiting queue. We have room for several cars to be able to be in that queue before it would be an issue with the cars exiting the car wash. And there's plenty of room at that driveway entrance for folks that generally are making a right-hand turn or a left-hand turn to get into the vacuum area. I think we spaced it nice. Well, it's wide enough to account for some of that. And we could always put a stop bar, at the, if cars are coming from the gas station area to go to the vacuums or to exit the site, that may prevent some cars from getting in the middle of that action as well.
Yeah, because at certain times of the day, as you know, it's very difficult to make a left turn out of the site. So let's say some of your customers make a left turn out of the car wash driveway, and they're waiting there a minute or longer. So now you got 2 cars, 3 cars stacked up. Now it's blocking that whole internal intersection. Now, hopefully, like you said, there's enough queuing distance for exiting from the car wash that, it's not clogging up your operation. Okay. This is a public hearing for a special use application. Are there any comments from the audience? Okay, I don't see any. Okay, Tim, do you have any final comments? It looks like we're going to continue the public hearing to next meeting. There are just a few items that need to be clarified and just further refined. But I
Yep,
think all in all, you've gotten a lot of great positive feedback from commission members, from what I heard anyway.
yes, yeah. So, yeah, I believe that, yeah, that I have nothing to add this evening. We'll make some revisions to the plans, get them out to everybody so that everybody has up-to-date plans, and we can move on from there.
Okay. And Mike D'Amato, do you see any reason why you might need to coordinate with Tim regarding any special landscaping notes or whatever it is you need to do? Or you'll make those touch points?
Yeah, since we're leaving the hearing open, the only thing that I would want to make sure of, and this is not necessarily something Tim has to answer right now, but any of the suggested modifications that were either contemplated today or suggested in my review, don't put you in a position where things have to go, you have to go back to wetlands, right? You're gonna add some plantings and things, but you should be square, yeah?
Yeah, I don't think that anything that we're be modifying is going to change the disturbed area or be of any significance that we've got to go back to wetlands. Nothing that we're doing is anywhere near the wetland, any of these changes. So yeah, I don't foresee that we'd have to go back to wetlands for anything that we're planning on changing.
So is the plan that you sent me that I got today, is that reflective of all that? Or are you gonna send another revision prior to the next meeting?
I believe that the only revisions that this exhibit shows are the additional plantings or just the revisions that were made to address your comments. I think all other comments have been addressed on the plans that were approved by the Wetland Commission.
Okay, so I just want to make sure that I have this to show. I mean, I know we're gonna add the wall packs potentially, but other than that, it's the plantings and stuff along that queuing area. You did the angled spacing and some of the striping.
Yes.
So as long as I have that.
Yep.
All right.
So Tim, is there any value of you reaching out informally to the District 1 engineer at DOT to talk about this, get preliminary feedback? Have you already done that?
No, in our experience, they typically are reluctant to meet with us on a preliminary basis. They usually want to make sure that planning and zoning has approved an application and a plan before they waste their time. I hate to say it, but that has been our experience in the past. There's different people there. That may not be the case anymore. I can certainly submit something. Whether or not they would get to it before next meeting would be another issue. Typically what I do, the process I take is once we get the planning and zoning approval, I'm submitting a plan for their review in anticipation of submitting an application for encroachment permit. And that they have no problem at that point going through their formal review of the plan.
Okay, well, I kind of shed some light on what they might be looking for, so don't be surprised.
Okay.
Okay, very good. Yes, Mike Kozlowski.
Tim, one thing occurred to me. You have a detail in the drawings for bituminous lip curbing. Are you proposing to put that all the way around all the new access drive aisles?
Yes.
Okay, because I'm thinking snow removal wise, this is going to be a difficult spot to plow snow. They're going to have to kind of back blade away from the building on both ends. If you have curbing all around, they're not going to have a spot they're going to be able to push directly off the paved area. I'm just thinking you may have to kind of consider where you're going to push snow and how you're going to push it without tearing up your curbing here.
Right. Yeah, that's something we could look at as well, because maybe there's some areas. In most cases, we put in the curbing to direct our storm water to the collection points or prevent a car from driving over, into an area we don't want it. Yeah, maybe that
But-
might be something I talked to Mike about as far as, they can lift their blade and push it up over the curb, but then that.
It
you're right,
tears it
that
up.
there tends to damage the curb, but. Yeah, we
Yeah, I
can,
just kind of, there's really not a good area anywhere here to push snow other than maybe straightforward on the vacuum area, but, on
Right.
all these curved drive aisles, the plowing plan is gonna get a little interesting.
Well, good point. Thank you for that. Well,
Yeah.
Can you just remove the curb at the end?
yeah, we might be able to remove the curb up here
Yeah, and
at
just,
the end of this. That would probably help. And then I'm thinking maybe we want to remove a section of the curb here as well.
I
Right,
think
if your
that,
elevations are such that your water's flowing,
right,
west to east, then you'd have a spot that you'd be able to push snow across that way, yeah.
we just want that sheet flow to pitch back so that it doesn't come down the parking lot, but I think it's, yeah, just
I believe it
remove
is
that
right
curb.
there.
Okay.
I have a brief question for Mike Frisbee. How successful is your diesel sales here? Okay, very good. We're somewhere in between.
It's good. I wouldn't say it's excellent. I wouldn't say it's fair. I say it's good. It serves a purpose in this market for sure. The price at the other places are significantly higher. So we serve the market well, I think. But is there a demand for more? Could we have another dispenser? Probably not. If it goes away, I think it defeats the purpose of the market. I still think there's a need for it. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I didn't know how successful it was because it seems like you would have other opportunities, maybe to lay out things a little bit different if you didn't have that there.
Yeah, I think it serves the market. And like I said, if we're starting from scratch, I would probably, lay it out differently. And, we would certainly, I would do things differently. So one of the things we mentioned earlier tonight about where the EV chargers are going, the idea is to put a sleeve underneath that driveway and be able to expand EV chargers as we go, as the need arises too. So we're planning for the future as well. So we don't have to rip it up again later on. So
Awesome.
I just thought I'd mention that.
Thank you. Okay, is there any final thoughts from commission members before we consider a motion to continue the public hearing to their next meeting? Okay, someone want to offer a motion?
I'll move to continue the hearing on PZ 2021-18 for 76 and 84 North Road and 70 Winkler Road. It's a special use permit application for construction of an automated car wash accessory to an existing automotive filling station. The applicant is Noble Energy Real Estate, and the hearing will be continued until May 25th.
There's a motion on the table to continue the public hearing. Is there a second?
Second.
There is a second. Any discussion? There are none. A call for a vote. All those in favor say aye or raise their hand.
Aye.
Forehand, unanimous. Okay, gentlemen, thank you for being patient with us. We'll see you in 2
Well,
weeks.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Have a
Thank
good
you.
evening.
Night.
You too. Okay, anything under correspondence, Mike D'Amato?
I don't have anything, nope.
Do the other board members know what happened to Clark? Is that a surprise? There wasn't any announcement. I knew about it, but it wasn't my place to say anything. Does Andy, does everyone know?
Yep.
Yeah,
We got an email today.
Where was I? I didn't get that email.
oh, we got a nice email from Jason today.
Well, maybe because I already knew, you didn't send it to me. Okay.
And Clark sent a
Not
good.
from me. I didn't send an email today.
Oh, it was Clark.
Oh, I guess he doesn't like me.
Yeah, Clark did.
Oh, I didn't get one from Clark. That's okay.
It's a great opportunity for him. And certainly I'm sorry to see him go. I'm very sorry to see him go, but it is a good opportunity for he and his family. So I wish him the best.
And there's a gentleman I ran into who used to be a former assistant town planner. What's his name before Ruben?
Matt?
Matt?
Matt. I ran into Matt recently. He was working for a place down in New Haven, and now he works at the Department of Transportation. So I had to give a presentation earlier this week, or maybe it was last week. All the days run alike. And Matt was on the call too, on a totally different topic. So our paths crossed. So he's changed jobs a couple times himself since leaving the town.
I'm glad to hear he landed at DOT. That's a good spot, as you know.
Yeah, spent over 3 decades there so far. Anything in the business meeting? CEO report?
I know that it was
Yeah,
provided as part of the packet. I don't have anything beyond that, but if anybody
Okay.
sees anything that catches their eye, I will get some additional information and report back.
Okay. And it looks like, Mike, you're gonna ask me to pick up some of the slack here in the interim until the town gets on more firmer ground with the town planner.
I'll be happy to pick up the slack wherever necessary for as long as it takes.
I'm very pleased you're still with us, and it's a nice constant. You add a lot of value to the commission. Truly.
I appreciate that. I will say, for what it's worth, that I obviously you guys know that I'm in multiple towns, and I say all the time, if I could pick you up and put you in my pocket and take you to all my other towns, I would, because I'd probably have a lot more hair on the top of my head. You're very easy to work with.
Yeah, I concur, Joe, that we're incredibly lucky to have Mike, and I'm so glad he stayed with us through all this so we don't have a gap and another round of learning curve. It's been wonderful. And I hope you stick around.
Is there anything else from members of the commission for the good of the order?
The budget passed.
Great
Oh.
news.
Jason announced it.
All 3 questions passed, pretty overwhelmingly. Not a lot of participation, but by percentage wise, all 3 of them crushed it. So we are out of the budget business for the next 12 months. Well,
Wow.
6 months. But nonetheless, it's a good opportunity to move forward.
Mike,
Yeah, I guess similar to this, well, since we're going into the town hall to cast our votes, we have a time frame or a plan to get our meetings back into the town hall?
So the town hall is going to reopen for normal operations on Monday. That will not include in-person meetings unless if the governor's executive orders are extended to July 20th, which is what I'm hearing is likely to happen, actually from Clark, then we would respect that moving forward. Otherwise, they expire on the 19th, and so we would snap back to the normal order at that point. The reason for that is we can't turn people away from a public meeting. So if you guys have a contentious issue that comes up, or I have a contentious issue that comes up, and those are really the 2 likelihoods of that happening, is your board or mine, and we get a standing room only crowd, we can't turn people away from that. So maintaining the Zoom platform makes some sense for that. And I mentioned to Joe in a meeting last week that moving forward, once we do return to the in-person stuff, we'll likely keep some sort of a hybrid component so that the public can view and participate in real time. But the law will require members to be voting physically in person.
Okay, but I mean, when we kind of addressed the casino issue, we knew that we were going to have a larger crowd, so we moved to a larger venue. We could kind of accommodate it the same way. If we were to reach capacity, we could move to either postpone or to adjourn until we could accommodate in a larger venue.
it depends on the size of the crowd and the venue that's available. You know, I mean, that all works in conversation, but the practicality of that isn't just a snap your fingers kind of thing. I would have some concerns about adjustments to capacity.
Jason, you're indicating that once things revert back to normal, there'll be all the commissioners will have to be present.
That's the law.
With no alternates, we risk there being not having a quorum if we can't, when somebody's away, they can't come in by Zoom.
I understand it. Believe me, I would be in favor of maintaining the virtual platform, but the law is what the law is. And FOIA requires you to vote at a time and place noticed. So there's also a bill in the legislature that would address that in some capacity. I'll be honest, I haven't followed it and I haven't read it. But I know the legislature is having a conversation about that. What they ultimately decide to do if the bill is even still alive is, you know, who knows? I mean, that place, if you can make sense of that place, you've got more sense than I have, and I spent a decade and a half there. So there may be something happening on that front, but the current law as it is without the executive orders is voting members vote in person. So Mike, you might get your wish sooner than later.
Okay, I think they're much better off in person.
So it looks like,
I'm sorry, Joe, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
I was going to say, for a while, we were, in my board anyway, we didn't see a drop off in public participation at all. We saw different people participating, but about the same people as who had typically come to an in-person meeting. That lasted for 6 or 7 months, which is, it's tragic that we can kind of tally that now. But that lasted for about 6 or 7 months, and then that fell off too. So in the interest of doing the public's business in the public eye, we do need to get back to it, but not until we're compelled to.
Does the town own any big tents where you can have a public meeting at the pavilion? That's a covered venue. All outside.
We've got 3 10x10s.
You can set them up there in behind the building where your picnic tables are, as long as it doesn't rain.
Well, you'll remember there was some public meeting that Maynard had over at it was here, and then it was moved over to the elementary school, and then that exceeded fire capacity, and there was discussion about actually moving that meeting outside with a sound system. So I don't know that we're coming into the right time of year to do it, but you know, the last time, so some of the governor's executive orders have already expired. So I don't know if the legislature is going to take up that bill, but they e-certed it, emergency certified it, which they don't typically do unless they're going to vote on it. And I don't know if that will toll all of the executive orders or just some of them or what, but actually it was Clark who brought it to my attention today that there was an e-cert on the go list in the House.
Well, aren't you guys on a first name basis there? You just pick up your cell phones and call each other with all the tribal nation stuff going on?
I'll happily tell you my conversations about that. The recording is off.
That's okay.
Just say I'm not a huge fan of the big boss.
All righty. Is there anything else for tonight? All righty. Hearing none, someone making a motion for adjournment?
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
Is there a second? Anyone?
Jim seconded, he's muted.
Oh, yeah, Jim second.
Mute second.
Okay.
Muted second. All right. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Bye.
Good night, everyone. Great meeting. Thank
Good
you.
night.